welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am 𝗤𝗏 𝗨𝗪, your host with the most. Today, I have with me the amazing 𝗣𝗹ᵐ. And if you're noticing that little background sparkle noise music, I'm playing around and trying a couple cool new things. You are here with us. This is the Frequency of Abundance group. And we really lean hard into that. It's presented by Allure Creative Agency. I'm the founder over there. And we put this on a daily basis. So Mondays is Motivational Mondays, Tuesdays is Triumphant Tuesdays, all the way up to today, which is Fearless Fridays. And so Kevin will be speaking on today's topic. You'll have access to it over in our free community. Over on LinkedIn, all you'd have to do is type in the Frequency of Abundance, look under groups, and you can have us. We have a small paid community as well that you can join us, do deeper dives, meet other people, go and explore tons and tons of content, really binge and enjoy yourself. So reach out to me. I'll be putting contact information for me and for Kevin a little bit later. But let me introduce the magic man himself. Very few people get to be a franchise growth and legacy consultant. And that's where Kevin's background for decades, coming in as a sales coach and trainer, working with teams, increasing bottom lines, making things more productive, efficient, effective, and obviously more sales, and then being able to convert that over specifically into franchising so that he's able to help those people both in terms of their agency and their growth and what they're trying to do, but then on the legacy side, so that if they wanted to hand it over to family or friends or to train someone to come in, two very separate things, both sometimes very needed. Kevin's a very cool guy who can put both together. I'll let him introduce himself a little bit more, add some meat to the bones, Kevin.
Well, I appreciate that. And I don't know if my kids would agree with you that I'm cool, but I'll take the compliment from you, definitely. Yeah, so I'm the Tenacious Leader. That title kind of, sometimes your nicknames always come to you. And so kind of same thing for me. The Tenacious Leader came to me as a sense of, all the ups and downs of life. I never quit. I always got back up and kept going, and shows the grit and perseverance to make something successful. And that's where I've fallen in working and loving working with small business franchise owners who really want to, making a difference. They have a business that's successful. It's raised their family. It's paid for their retirement. It's done some really good stuff for them and themselves. And then they want to send it on to the next level. They then want to pass it on to their family, their friend, their number one employee, or they go out and sell it. And what we found out is like only 30% of transitioning of businesses are successful. That means 70% of businesses fail after they're sold or transitions over to the second owner.
Oh, that's awful. Wow.
That's like, wow. So you got to think the person's dream of starting a business. It's so you've done it. You've with Allure. You have this dream, this passion, take care of your family. You have this, I want to make money so I don't have to work for the man. I want to be my own man or person. And
yeah.
But it takes time. And then once you've figured out a secret recipe in your niche, in your community, and you're making money, if you leave, if you sell it, it's not yours anymore.
Yeah.
And now that community could lose it. There's so many small businesses and barbershops in Old Town America that don't have a barbershop anymore because the guy retired.
Yeah. Now what?
And there was no legacy. There was no next generation coming behind them. One of the funny things I love is talking to like those next generations or the number one employees, and they're like, I don't want to do this job. My parents, they're not happy.
Yeah.
Okay. No. They're happy, or they would have gotten out of it years ago. It's creating the money. Maybe they don't want to be stuck in the niche that they're in, but they can afford to move if they wanted to. But you got to think of, they need to sell themselves as this is a great business to own. Sometimes we are humbled so much that we don't want others to know how happy or how successful we are, that it then makes people afraid to then follow you and own your business. My dad, I'm a legacy for H&R Block. My dad was 45 years. My mom was a franchise owner for H&R Block. And I then started working with him after 15 years. I had the whole dream. I wanted to be corporate H&R Blocky for the rest of my life too. Things change. Corporate America changes. Things happen. I then pivoted away and found my own way of owning my own franchise while still helping my mom strategize and grow her franchise. And just finding a way to own and communicate. And when my life changed, I had two gyms. As you can see, I'm a stealth physique fitness person. I owned two gyms for 7 years through the Great Recession, and but my number one employee, she wanted to go back to teaching, my wife. And so she wanted to go back into teaching. And then we had two kids, so we just couldn't manage what we were doing. So we had to pass it on. But it was hard to say goodbye to our clients because 2 years later, they weren't there. The businesses weren't there after we sold them. So
That is,
I learned what happens in the pain that the communities miss that niche that we created for them.
I hear that. So let me ask you, for today, we're going to be planning to set up for 2025.
Yeah.
I wanted you to share some insights with us where you think people are maybe spending a lot of time and energy on that and in the wrong way, and where maybe some of their energy and focus should be.
Well, I say there's like three parts to really looking to next year. And don't do this all in one setting or one bottle of your favorite whiskey or whatever. It takes to give yourself an hour, half hour, a little bit every day and just build upon it. Why? Just from my coaching perspective, you do that so A, you don't burn out, and B, once you put all the first stuff on paper, when you walk away, your mind, your body, everything is still figuring this out. And so when you come back tomorrow, you then will then add more energy to it. And your brain, the way your conscious works, when you're not doing something, it's still thinking about how to make you successful. So if they know you're going to come back to it tomorrow, it's working. It just isn't laboring for you. So when you sit down and you start punching away and start adding information to your plan, that's just that's just putting inputs to yourself. So then you come in the next day, you just keep typing. If you give yourself a half an hour and you're like working 2 hours and your coffee's cold but you're done, you feel like, man, that was great. How long did that was? It was 2 hours. You're like, wow, okay, it was fun, it was energetic. But give yourself that space. I think
Yeah.
I break it down into three things. One is, where am I going? The next is, where am I playing? What's the sandbox I'm in these days? Every year, your sandbox could change. Evaluate that. And third is the numbers, making sure you have a business plan. That's the boring thing, but it's also a piece that most individuals, if they're entrepreneurs or they own a business, they kind of miss these pieces on really giving themselves to space to grow.
I hear
And
that.
so it's like where you're going. It's really you gotta have to have a vision statement in a sense. You have to sit down and you give yourself. My goal is to, add another van to my carpet cleaning business. My goal is to, really land two big casinos, or just give yourself that space. Or I want to pay off all my personal debt with my business. Whatever it is, make sure you have a true goal and what you really want to accomplish in 2025, but also go out to 3 years from now, 2028. Make sure your goal today is aligned with where you want to be in 3 years from now. So you're going in the direction you want to go and you're building blocks of growth. And so with that, break out that vision mission statement that you started your business with when you got your business loan or whatever. Bring it out. Take it, find it in your piece of paper, freshen it up, read it out loud, to say it, sing to it, whatever, and see if it still is bringing you the energy that you thought it was when you first started your business. A lot of
All right.
people just take it and post it again. Here's the vision mission. No, it has to change every year because we all change. We all grow.
Okay.
Maybe it's one word, but that one word can make you feel, oh, this is exciting again.
I like that, because if we're not excited about our missions and our visions, and we're not going to set goals, we're not going to do this right.
Right. It's like you don't know where you're aiming. You don't know what you're shooting for. It's it's amazing how when you're setting I'm thinking like bow and arrow, like
Okay.
when you're doing that, if you focus on all the white area, you tend to hit the yellow area. But if you focus on the red dot and you just focus on that dot, your chances of getting the arrow closest to that dot is going to happen.
Neat. That's a
You
cool archery rule.
You really have to look at what you want, and that's where you go. It's another real scenario is when you're driving your car. I love this example. If you like took a helicopter ride and you looked at the freeway between LA and Las Vegas, this desert.
Okay.
It's just a 2-lane, 4-lane road just going all the way through there. And you see these skid marks all the time, all the way on them. And they're leading to a telephone pole. Now remember, this is a desert. There's nothing around
Except this one thing to hit. Well,
except this telephone pole every 50 feet or whatever they are. And you have skid marks going into telephone poles. Why? It's because when people are feared, they stare at what they don't want to do. They stare at the thing that could hurt them. And they stare at it because they don't want to, they're looking at it so they think that's what. No. When you're skidding or losing or want to stop by not hitting another car or whatever the situation, your best thing is stare into the open space where you want to be that's safe. Same with your business. If you're focusing on what's your opportunity, where you want to connect, you will find more people that way versus the frustration, the points, the errors. It was amazing when I was a regional director for H&R Block. I had 20 managers, and when I would focus on the person that was the least performance,
okay.
that person was about to get fired. It was just like it was inevitable. I was just like, I'm looking for everything to make that person not be successful. But when I flipped my way of working with that person and looked at all the things they're doing right, guess what? All of a sudden, they're out of that red zone of being that person that could be losing their job, because I'm giving them space to grow.
Mm,
But
that's so
looking at,
cool. Can I tell you, I had a rock climbing friend of mine, and he was always talking about the right things, to be focusing on. And it was neat because he's like, they tell you don't look down. I'm like, why is that? He goes, it's not just because, it's scary and it'll disorient you. He goes, you don't look where you don't want to go. I'm like, oh, okay. So look where you want to go is the positive invert of that sentence. He's like, yeah. And I'm like, I noticed that when I'm going for a bicycle ride and I'm coming up to the park, there's usually those two poles just to make sure that no cars go on the path. And
right?
I'm like, of course your bicycle can get through there. But if you're riding up to that and you see those two poles and you just start staring at either of those two poles, you're hitting one or both of those two damn poles. The only way to go through that at speed is to just stare at the nothing in the middle and just look where you want to go.
Yeah,
How
it's amazing
funny.
how it works.
Yeah.
It works for life too. I got to sometimes remind myself that.
So good. That's
Yeah.
so good.
It's so,
I
but
like
also another thing to consider when you think about where you're going is looking at your handbooks, your governance, all those kind of things you did and you put on a shelf. It's
yes.
this time of year, pull that stuff down, especially if you have employees.
Yes.
Sit down and read them real quick. Or if you don't have them, it's a great time to put that as a goal for you to get done. It's important to have handbooks when you have employees because you want to have consistency. You want
Yes.
people to know they're safe and they have rules and regulations and boundaries to work within. And when you have it written down, it's amazing how just writing it down and then communicating it out. Now everybody knows this is the way, this is how our sandbox is designed, and this is how we're playing within it. Then you're more likely to get people on that same page when you have a document of something so people can see.
I
And
like that.
nowadays, a Google Doc. Nowadays, it doesn't have to be a book or a binder as much anymore, but it can just be right there. But take the time to refresh it, look at it, bring in a HR consultant for a couple hours to give you new ideas of what could be done. Spend that extra couple $100 and just refresh it a little bit and
I
let your
like
people know you're updating their environment, their security, their safe space for them to come in and just produce for their family
I
or
like
their.
that. I like that.
So that's kind of like where am I going kind of a thing, kind of creating sure that foundation's there. And the last bit is really know why you're doing this. You've heard of the why statement, but I look at it this way too, is knowing why you're doing your business. So many
Mm,
people forget the why, and it's personal. It's got to be personal, and it can be ego. Yes, I ran for public office before. People think you're doing that for your ego. No, I really want to help people. But yeah, I guess my ego is driving me to stand in front of people and say I can help, right? And you think of a business owner, they have an ego, and it's okay for themselves to sit back and think about what's in it for me and why am I doing this? Because if
Mm,
you're grounded by knowing your sense of who you are and your authenticity of why you're doing this business, you can't attract more people. You can't bring
great.
people in to help you grow. So
That's key because if you're not going to be growing, then like nobody's going to be happy with that stagnation. So you really want to have the ability to help, you know? If you're looking at the ticker tape, ladies and gentlemen, I put Kevin's contact info here and I'm going to pop it into the chat as well. Pop into the chat, everybody. Say hello, give a thumbs up, show some love. Have a question, by all means. Here, I'll even put an overlay. Voila. We've got some chat popping up. There's my contact info. If you don't know me and you've been coming to none of these for the last little while on these daily talks that we have, it's okay. I'll introduce myself quick. I've been an elite energy coach for about 30 years, had about 15,000 people come through my hands, played around at the highest levels from Cirque du Soleil, Olympians, national sports teams, and then really, really focused on just trying to help other people get their message out, shine a light onto them, really, really see, is there a way that we can help? So that's where I come from. I'll put my contact in here as well. And that way you guys can see. And even more importantly, I will give you this because welcome to the Frequency of Abundance group. We've got captivating talk 7 days a week. And if you wanted to join us, this is the free LinkedIn group. And I'll pop that into the chat as well so you can copy it because it might be tricky to copy that on ticker tape. I just saw. And here we go. Wonderful. So reach out to us, join the community, join the groups. Come, and if you want to have a talk, if you want to be on air with us, if you want to get broadcasted out, if you want to have your own events, if you want to have leadership roundtable discussions, financial fireside chats, if you're hunting whales and looking to get close to those C-suites, executives, leaders, founders, that elusive group, that's what we specialize at Allure Creative Agency. So if we can help you shine your light bigger and brighter, if you want to come and join us on a Frequency of Abundance show, I welcome you, welcome you, welcome you. Kevin, let's wrap them up for 2025 because we've given so many great ideas. And on one end, we don't have that much time off to be able to go through all of these. So like you said, don't try to do all of them at once, but really give yourself at least some time. Some for you, some about where you came from and what you were thinking. And is that still valid? Some for your employees so that they can have some comfort and security and safety. I think that's really cool.
yeah, and kind of find a way to make your own document, your own format. A lot of people start going and they start Googling business plans. They start going out there and that they're showing their maybe a sense of I'm gonna do it wrong. There's nothing you could do wrong. The wrong thing is doing nothing.
That's a
So
big one.
the right thing is just start writing, start putting it on paper, and then don't be afraid to share it with your circle. Share it with your key employee or your manager. Let them be part of the conversation. You start writing it out there, but showing them the numbers. I was putting together this plan and thinking like the 3 phases of kind of what it all works out, and I created a spreadsheet. And I was like, you know what? Most people, what I realize is they don't really understand the effort it takes to get their client.
It's huge. It's a huge
You
effort.
have a
Yeah.
budget. You have a money budget. You have your expenses. You have all that stuff all easily figured out. But when you want to get a client, how much effort does it take to get a customer?
Mm.
If you don't know what the effort takes to get a customer, or how many phone calls do you have to answer to get somebody to walk into your business, or to have enough, how many leads do you have to get a meeting? How many meetings does it take to get a customer? Those types of things, if you don't know that number, have fun with figuring it out. It'll be
Okay.
the tally sheets. It could be tracking reports you just don't know about in your systems that you currently have, but it's fun. I had one of my clients, I sat down with him. I said, okay, you want to create a more effective backroom office. great, no problem. It's a service, kind of a business. A lot of people call to make appointments. I go, okay, how many missed calls do you get a month? I don't know.
That's bad. You should know.
So they looked at over 3 months. He missed 385 phone calls.
Wow. You should
And I'm
have an
like,
answering service at that point. Damn.
I'm like, 380. Wow. Okay, let's just hypothetically say that's 300. That's say 150 people that were customers calling you back. All right,
Ooh.
let's just say, and 50 of them were vendors trying to call you to sell you something. Okay, so then let's say you have 100 people you missed, and if they're calling you, they need your service. Let's give you a 50% chance they're going to actually buy your service. That's
Oh
50
man.
in 3 months that they missed, and their average price was $400.
Yeah. So 20 grand is important for anyone to pick up. Yeah.
So it's like, think of your business in a way of what does it take? What are the pieces of your business touch points where it takes customers to become a client or paying your service? You know, giving free work is one thing, but getting paid customers is another. What does it take to get that free customer on your books?
I like that. Because if you don't have that as an answer, you're not going to be able to go and do those, accounting questions where they genuinely talk to you. What's the cost of acquiring a customer and what's the lifetime value of you can't get into those kind of calculations if you don't know how many calls you missed, how many calls it took to get a client. You can't even begin to go down into the real numbers and the real I guess insight that comes from seeing those numbers so clearly because it'll be glaring.
Yeah. The other side is when it comes to something like even solopreneurs, people who are building their own business from their own experiences. If they don't know what it takes when they sit down and talk, they know they need a marketing person. They need somebody like yourself to help build their voice out there. How many customers do they need to make it work? And how many meetings they need to make? How many phone calls do they need to generate to get to people? If the solopreneurs on top of small business owners, franchisees don't know what it takes, they just keep just hoping, and
Yeah.
hope's not a strategy. It's energy, but it isn't a strategy.
Yeah. And that's really going to be dangerous for people to just hope that 2025 is magically going to be different than, well, I guarantee it'll be different than this year because you've got new everything coming in from politics to weather to, everything. So everything from in the air to up in the sky and everything else. So there's going to be a lot of energy. And some of it may be nervous energy, some of it may be anxious, but it's not that hard to convert nervous, anxious energy into excited. And feeling positive is usually the best way to flip that through. So, ladies and gentlemen, you see why I mentioned how cool Kevin is. We had the neatest chances to have conversations and go and do such an incredible deep dive. Two different complete backgrounds and skill sets. You got to hear a conversation today where we went in to go from my world to his world. Here's what to look for. Here's what to watch out for. And here's where a lot of people get tripped up. So knowing that that's the case, now you don't have to do anything anymore. Reach out to Kevin. Here's his contact info there. I'll pop it back into the chat. Oh, we got a question from Mr. Ryan Nabel. What are the key habits or routines you need to develop to achieve your 2025 goals? Ooh. And
Ooh.
that is excellent. That's the whole point of this conversation. Thank you. That was a great question. That's what we've been discussing for the last 25 minutes. I would say that if you want to, this is the absolute best time. Thank you for setting that up. Reach out directly to Kevin. Have him have a one-on-one strategy session with you, a complimentary breakdown for what 2025 could look like for you. Reach out to the Tenacious Leader. Reach out to me if I can help you in any capacity, shed your light, shine it up a little bit brighter. Know that we've got incredible Saturday event coming up and Sunday. We're going to be getting into rest and relaxation. We're going to be getting into rejuvenation. We're going to be looking at ways that we can come back for the next couple of weeks and gain strength instead of lose it like a balloon letting out air because, man, we got holidays coming up. So people got families, people got, like I said, nervous energy that we're going to try to transfer into excitement. So stay tuned, stay with us, and thank you very much. Kevin, you've been amazing.
Happy holidays.